everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So this is my reading vlog for the Roll-The-Rainbowthon readathon, which is hosted by Christy from Christy Reads. I'll link her channel below. And this is a readathon based on her TBR game. I am very excited to be participating, and I have a nice little stack of books here that I need to get to this week. So these are my main goals, along with the Blood of Wonderland, which I'm listening to on audiobook, as these are the books that I picked for the prompts for the Roll-The-Rainbow readathon. And so far, I've started 3 of them because it's technically Tuesday evening, and I meant to start this yesterday and just didn't get to it. So we'll go with Aunt Dimity Digs In, which is pink on the cover, and I am reading it in a cozy way, so reading it curled up with my kitty. I plan to insert some footage of me reading with them after this as some of my B-roll, because I very rarely read at night without a cat in my lap. I'm on page 50, I think? No, 62. I made more progress last night than I thought I did. So this is the 4th book in the Aunt Dimity series, and these are like cozy mysteries, but they don't involve murder usually. I don't think any of them have involved murder, but it's been a while since I've read them. There's like 25 books in the series, and I'm doing a reread, so this one definitely doesn't involve murder, it involves a theft, so I'm curious to see who did the thieving. I mean, again, I've read it before, but it's been a long time since I've read this book, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Then I'm reading The Adventurers Guild. I've started this one. I'm on page 72, and I'm reading this one for like a blue cover, and I got to pick whatever book I wanted. This is told in a dual perspective. We have Zed and Brock, who are looking forward to joining guilds, most notably the Mages Guild, but unfortunately they both end up in the Adventurers Guild, and usually people don't live long in the Adventurers Guild, so we're kind of following them on their journey now that they're part of a guild they didn't want to be a part of. And yeah, I mean, I'm 72 pages in, so I'm still learning who Brock and Zed are as characters and getting to know the world. I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm not a huge fan of the audiobook narrator, but I was busy doing something else and I needed an audiobook, so I stuck this on. But yeah, so far, so good. It is definitely feeling like it's going to have a fantastical element with mages, obviously, and then an adventure, I would assume, if it's the Adventurers Guild. So far, so good on this one. And then the other book I started for this readathon is Transformed: The Perils of the Frog Prince. And I'm reading this book for the prompt with a greenish cover that had BIPOC rep, and this definitely does. Our main character's name is Syrah, Syrah, and he ends up getting turned into a frog. And he is very, very unlikable. So I'm on page 60, and I'm not necessarily loving it, but I think I may end up enjoying it, because I think the idea is that Syrah's supposed to be an unlikable character, and he's supposed to hopefully grow and change throughout the novel. So I'm hoping that I enjoy it more as I go along through the book, because I think right now we're not supposed to like Syrah. And I definitely don't, because he's a big old jerk. So if that was what they were going for, then it's absolutely working. And I think because of the idea that he got turned into a frog and he has to kind of learn his lesson and make amends for his ways and show like growth. At least I think I've never seen The Princess and the Frog, so this is all new to me, but I think that's the idea behind it, is that usually in this situation, I know that at least like say in Beauty and the Beast had to show growth, had to get somebody to fall in love with him even though he was beastly, showing that he truly had changed because he was such a jerk in the beginning, which is why he got cursed in the first place. So I'm assuming we're going to see some growth from Syrah, and hopefully by the end I will enjoy him as a character, but right now, not so much. So in addition to that, I've read some other stuff. I read Arusha and the City of Gold, and I'm giving this 4 stars. This is the 4th book in the Pandava series, and in this series we're following Arusha, who in the first book accidentally sets the sleeper on the world and ends up finding out that she is the reincarnation of one of the Pandavas, and we kind of see her journey from there, and they're like gods, and we're reading Hindu mythology, and I really, really enjoy this series. I also love that, like, the first 3 books, there's a glossary in the back, so If you are confused as to who the characters are or unfamiliar with terms or how they're pronounced, there is a whole glossary in the back of the book that will give you all the information you need. And yeah, I think that is really, really cool, because if you're confused about something or come across an unfamiliar term, which, let me tell you, has happened to me multiple times, I have definitely made use of the glossary to kind of refresh my memory. And I am very curious where this wraps up, because the way this book ends makes it seem like the next book is going to be the last, which was the impression that I had, that it was a 5-book series. So it certainly ends in a way that makes it feel like we're gearing up for the final battle, and I've really enjoyed it. I am curious to see how Aru's journey ends, and I am excited to have checked this book off my series and be one step closer to finishing a series. The other book I've started is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro, and I'm reading this as part of Tackling Tomes, which is hosted by Pris from Pris Bruises. I'll link her channel below and the Tackling Tomes Twitter. And I don't know much about it. I think I'm like 30 pages in? 26. I'm on page 26. So with this kind of a chunker, I have no idea quite what's going on, but there are 2 boys who seem to have some sort of mystical powers, and I believe, based on the description, that people are going to come after them because of these mystical powers, and they're going to have to try to stay one step ahead of the people who wish them harm, I think. Yeah, it's a historical fantasy as well, because it's set in England in 1882, so I'm intrigued. This has definitely got me invested, even though I've only read the first 26 pages, and I'm very curious where it's going to go. I would not necessarily be reading this week, except for the fact that it is a 14-day book from the library. It's overdue, and I have no more renewals, so I kind of have to read it if I want to read it and not rack up $1 million in fines. So that is the other book I'm hoping to get to this week that isn't on my Roll-The-Rainbowthon TBR. So those are my plans. I think I've made a decent start, given that it's Tuesday, and I've made progress in 3 of the books on my Roll-The-Rainbow TBR. So hopefully I can continue to make progress, and I can get through those 3, these 3, and my audiobook, and smash out this week of reading. I've been doing really, really good with my reading, so I'm feeling quite hopeful that this week is going to be no exception. I'm also hoping to find time to actually edit, because I've been putting off editing and filming, and I'm feeling a little bit behind again, but I had a couple of weeks where my anxiety was really, really bad. So the last thing I wanted to do was be on camera or, editing myself. And in the midst of that, I filmed a bunch of TBR videos, which I'm sure you've seen if you have been on my channel, because I'm taking part in all the readathons this month. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this clip up here so that I can go read, because these books are not going to read themselves, and I will check back in with you all soon. is Friday morning and I thought I would check in as I actually have some updates. I've finished some books. First up, I finished Aunt Dimity Digs In, and this is the 4th book in the Aunt Dimity series, and I think I'm going to go 4 stars. I read this for the prompt pink on the cover because of my little bunny, and having like a cozy reading night, and as you'll have seen in the previous clip, I was reading this while in bed curled up with my cat, who is actually right behind me right now, looking very cozy. This was also the book I chose to read for, I believe, my math course for SeasonAthon Academy, because I needed to read a book that ended in 5, and this book is 275 pages, so I managed to tick that off for SeasonAthon as well. This book involved a theft, so Lori was trying to figure out who a thief was, and again, with it being a reread, it's a lot harder to kind of sleuth stuff out because I know things. So like I knew certain things were going to happen, and the more I read, the more I started to piece together. So it's harder to judge the mystery because like I've already read it. So we technically already know who did it. Though I will say I had forgotten. So they got me again. I don't know if they got me the first time, but they definitely got me this time. And yeah, I love the charm of this series and how it is a mystery series that doesn't focus on murder. It's a nice break from a lot of the other cozy mysteries that I read. So yeah, I'm enjoying my reread and hope to continue on. I mean, book 5's on my TBR for September, so odds are I'm continuing on with this series this month. Then next up, I finished Lady Takes the Case by Eliza Casey, and this is a historical fiction cozy mystery, and I can't really talk about it because it's a 5-star prediction, and I will be talking about it in my 5-star prediction wrap-up vlog. But I read this for the Rainbow Readathon for blue on the cover, and I could pick any book I wanted. And it covered the prompt favorite setting for Bookoplathon. I actually finished this before I went to bed last night, and yeah, I am very excited to have ticked this off and finished. I think this is the 3rd book I finished for my 5-star prediction, so I'm really making some decent progress on that video this month, which makes me very happy. Then I read By Book or By Crook, which I read for a specific color. We had like 4 colors we had to pick from, and it had to be on the cover, so I picked this. This is one of my summer covers, so this is another book I can't really talk about because my premise for that, if you're new to my channel, is that I pick 5 books on my TBR that remind me of the season that we're going into, and then I go into them blind to see if they're actually set in that season, and I do a wrap-up vlog where I talk about my thoughts on that. So this is another one I can't really tell you much about, but it is a cozy mystery, and it has a kitty. There's a cat on the cover, and I will give you that the cat is accurate. There is a cat in this book, and yeah, that was another one down, and this also covers my SeasonAthon Academy prompt where I had to read a mystery, so again, doubling up wherever I can. And then the only other update I have for you is that I've started Abhorsen, which is the 3rd book in... I'm not sure what the name of this series is. Old Kingdom, the Old Kingdom series. This deals with, like, necromancy and people that have the ability to enter the world of the dead. And I have been trying to read a book a month of this series because I've been trying to do better about when I start series to continue them, along with trying to catch up on series that I'm already in the midst of, because I found that I'm really good at starting series, but not so good at completing them. I mean, look at my series jar. These are all series that I'm in the midst of. There's like 150 pieces of paper in here. So I'm very good at starting series, but not so good at finishing them. So I've been trying to make it a point that new series, when I pick them up, I'm continuing them. And this is a book I'm reading for, it needed to be an orange e-cover and seasonal vibes. And, well, the colors on the cover give me seasonal vibes with us going into fall. And the idea of, like, necromancy, bringing back the dead, that spooky kind of vibe, made me feel like it fit for the seasonal vibes of spooky season. So I'm only like 2 chapters in, so I don't have much more to say about this at this point, but I do like that it kind of picked up where the last book left off, whereas book 2, there was a time jump and a character shift. So I wasn't expecting that with book 2 because we, like, had this time jump and we weren't following the characters from the first book. But this book literally picks up where book 2 left off, so that was really, really nice, and I'm excited to dive into that. Which means when it comes to my Roll-The-Rainbowthon TBR, I still need to get to the Blood of Wonderland. I obviously need to finish Abhorsen. I need to get back to the Adventurers Guild, and I need to read Transformed Perils of the Frog Prince, because I haven't picked either of these up since I last spoke with you. But hopefully I will get to them. I also need to get back to Ordinary Monsters. That's another book I have not picked up since I last spoke to you. But yeah, I think finishing these 3 definitely means I made some decent progress, and hopefully I can continue the trend and get moving with the rest of my TBR, because I really need to pick up the pace if I'm going to have any hope of getting through all of the books that I wanted to read this month, especially considering I keep finding books that I need to read that I wasn't necessarily planning on. Like Ordinary Monsters I kind of have to read because it's due back to the library, and yeah, I found another one like that that I need to read because it's due back to the library, and I really do want to read it before I turn. So kind of need to pick up the pace, and I suppose we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that's all I got for you now, and I will check back in soon. So it is now Sunday morning, and I thought I would check in because today is the last day of the readathon, and I have finished some books. First off, I finished the Adventurers Guild, and I read this for the prompt blue and choose whatever you want, and it also covers the prompt read a book in a series that you haven't yet started but you own a few, because I own the first 3 books in the series, and I think I'm going 3.25 stars. So in this book we're following Brock and Zed, and they live in, according to the back, one of the last cities standing after the world fell to monsters. And there's a bunch of different guilds that they can join when they hit a certain age. And Zed wants to join the Mages Guild, and Brock wants to join the Merchants Guild, and they both end up in the Adventurers Guild. And the Adventurers Guild isn't exactly popular because usually people who end up in the Adventurers Guild don't live long, because the goal of the Adventurers Guild is to go outside kind of the walls of the city and gain things they can't normally get and protect the city from the monsters that are kind of outside of it. And so we're seeing Zed and Brock's journey as they end up in the Adventurers Guild, and we get to learn more about the Adventurers Guild, why they ended up there, their feelings on it, and they kind of have to uncover this conspiracy that seems to be threatening the guild and kind of have to prove themselves as they try to uncover the plot. So I didn't get into this really until the very end. I even considered DNFing it, but considering I have books 2 and 3, I decided to persevere, and by the end I think I was more into it than I was at the beginning, so I think I will continue on with the series and at least give it one other book since I own them. I don't know if I had to like get the books from the library whether I would be super enthusiastic about continuing on with the series, but alas, I do own them, so I probably will give it a try, because like I said, by the end I was far more invested. I think it took a bit to really set things up and flesh things out and draw me in. Brock and Zed are very different characters, but I really enjoyed the friendship they had. I enjoyed some of the characters that they got to meet. It just took a bit to get into the meat and potatoes of the story, and I think that was my problem, was I spent a lot of time wondering what was going on and why I should care. And I think by the end, they managed to achieve the goal of making me care, but it took a little long for me to get into it. So probably will continue on with the series, but it isn't exactly a high priority, so it might wait until it comes out of my series to continue jar, but we'll see. Then I finished Transformed, The Perils of the Frog Prince, which I read for the color green, featuring BIPOC rep. And this is the 3rd book in the Time series and is a Princess and the Frog retelling. And in this book, we're following a prince named Sierra who ends up handing over a letter that a girl named Deli wrote to him like a love letter to the press, essentially, and it gets published. And Deli is extremely embarrassed. His family is super disappointed in him, and he ends up running into the forest, making a wish, and getting turned into a frog. And we get to see his journey from there. He is an extremely unlikable character because he's a giant jerk. And as this frog, he ends up realizing that there is this plot going on because there is like this plague going around, and an election is coming up for Deli's kingdom. And he ends up looking into things because he feels like there's more going on than meets the eye, and as a frog has a lot more autonomy to kind of sneak around because nobody knows that he's been turned into a frog. And we kind of get to see his journey from there as he tries to uncover the true story of what's going on. And I think I'm going 3.5 stars. This wasn't my favorite, but I also have no idea what the story of The Princess and the Frog is. I've never watched the movie. I've never read a story version of it. So I kind of went into this one with no preconceived notions, and I wasn't a huge fan of Sarah, but like I said, I wasn't supposed to be, because the idea is that we see his growth throughout the book, because my interpretation of it is he's turned into this frog, and the idea is that to become human again, he needs to have shown growth as a human being. Well, as a person, I should say, because he's not a human being, he's a frog. So, yeah, I struggled because I wasn't super attached to Sarah, and it's definitely one I could have put down and just walked away from because of how unlikable Sarah is at the beginning. I will say I did like seeing the crossover with the other books in the series, because the first one follows Rapunzel and the second one follows Ella, so I like how this tied into the larger world. I believe this is the most recent book, so that would mean I'm caught up on this series, which is very exciting. And if there is a fourth book, I will definitely pick it up at some point, but this book didn't leave me feeling like I absolutely needed to get to the next book, which is a shame because I do really like retellings and the world that's been built in this series, but I can check it off my list, and I have another series that I'm now caught up on. I have continued at Porson. I am now partway through chapter 8. I'm on 104. Last time I talked to you, I was on chapter 2. I'm very curious as to what's going on with our main characters and how they're going to get out of the situation that they're in. This is definitely a part 2 to the story from book 2, and I'm really enjoying seeing their journey and getting to see more of what's going on with them. It is extremely hard to talk about without giving away spoilers for book 2, but I am enjoying it, and hopefully I can finish it today because today is the last day of the readathon, and this is my book for Orange with seasonal vibes, so hopefully I can finish this one. And then the other book I have made progress on for this readathon is The Blood of Wonderland, which is the second book in that series. And we're following Dinah, and she is the Princess of Hearts. So it's the Queen of Hearts from Wonderland, but back when she was a princess, and we're kind of seeing her story. I'm really enjoying book 2. I think I have like 2.5 hours left of the audiobook, and I listened to it at 3 times speed, I think. No, 3.5 times speed. I'm listening to it at 3.5 times speed. So I should easily be able to finish that today, and this was my pick for red on the cover with the prompt black and white. So you needed to have some combination of those colors on the cover, and I'll pop a picture of the cover up here. As you can see, I hit all 3, so I'm really enjoying that one and see no reason why I shouldn't finish that today. As for books that have nothing to do with this readathon, I've made some more progress on Ordinary Monsters. I am now on page 150, so slow progress, but progress nonetheless. This is following 2 boys, Charlie, who has the ability to heal, so like you can cut him open, beat him, whip him, break his leg, and he heals from it. And Marlo, who has the ability to heal, but he also can like melt things with his hands, I believe. And there is this like smoke-like figure who's after them, and we're kind of seeing them try to stay one step ahead of this mysterious person who wants to find them for reasons unknown. I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's very, very interesting, and at 150 pages in of a over 600 page book, I still feel like everything is getting set up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We're getting to learn about Charlie and Marlo and what they're capable of doing and kind of their backstory, along with the people who are seemingly trying to rescue them, though we don't know for sure at this point, I don't think, whether they're the good guys or not. And then we have the smoke person who may or may not be good as well. I mean, I get the feeling he's the nefarious person, but whether the place where they're headed is good is up for debate. I'm not sure I trust anybody involved right now. So I think that is a very intriguing point of Marlowe has these abilities, Charlie has these abilities, and there are a bunch of people who are involved with trying to essentially find them and take them places and do things with them, and I'm not sure I trust the motives of anybody right now. So it is intriguing and will probably be the goal of the 4 days between my readathons, because I'm doing Greek Godathon, which is the last week in September. So wish me luck, guys. I have so many books I need to read. It's not even funny. And then I did manage to sneak in one more book, and that's Enola Holmes and the Elegant Escape. I buddy read this with Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf, and I think I'm going 4.25 stars. It doesn't quite get a 5 for me. This is the 8th book, I believe, in the Enola Holmes series, and this is a Sherlock Holmes retelling where we're following his younger sister. I am really liking how Nancy Springer has continued to do an amazing balance between character development, world development, and the mystery itself. Because one of my complaints for the first couple books was there wasn't a real great balance, and she's managed to figure that out for the majority of them. It was just the first couple, and I think she spent a lot of time in those books focusing more on the character and world development than the mysteries, and I think she's found a groove with how she's managed to balance those three, because I feel like we learn more about Enola. We get to see her continue to grow as a character in this one. We get to learn more about the world she lives in the time period that she lives in, and the things that were happening then due to the mystery. And then I think the mystery was really well done, and I like how we were thrown right into it. It wasn't my favorite mystery, but I did enjoy it. I am still enjoying the references to characters we've met in previous books, and how Nancy Springer is weaving that world in together and not making them feel like Enola meets these characters in this book and then they just fall off the face of the planet. So I'm really enjoying that. This means I'm caught up because it just came out this month, so it's probably going to be a bit before I get the next books in the series, but I've really enjoyed reading the series and doing this buddy read with Naomi, and I'm very happy to be caught up. So yeah, that is my update. I think today's focus, like I said, is going to be reading and finishing The Blood of Wonderland and Abhorsen. I see no reason why I shouldn't be able to finish both, but you never know. Things are crazy. Oh, I should also mention that I read Enola Holmes for adaptation for Series September, so making progress with my other readathons as well, because yeah, I mean, it is the month of readathons. They're all over the place, and I'm doing all of them. So yeah, I wanted to check in and let you know where I was at, and I have one more day, and it's a rainy, dreary kind of day, so nothing like a good book to cure that, right? Can't go outside and do anything anyways because it's rainy and gross, so curl up in bed with a couple of cats and a good book, and yeah, hopefully I will be able to finish them, and I will check back in with you after midnight to let you know how I did. Around 1:30 in the morning, which means the Roll the Rainbow Readathon is now over, and I am happy to say I completed both of the books I had to get to today. First, I finished Abhorsen, and I was reading this for orange cover with fall vibes, and I think I'm going 3.5 stars. This is the third book in the Old Kingdom series, And I just wasn't as into this one as I was the last one. I'm not sure whether I want to continue on with the series or not. I'm debating. I will probably look to see what the next book is about and make up my mind, or maybe I'll wait until it comes out of my TBR jar and continue it then and kind of let it be up to fate when I pick the next book up. I will say that this book was very 3 stars until the end when the action kind of picked up, and then I really got into it and it actually almost made me cry, which isn't something I can normally say for books that are in the 3-star range. So props to it for that. I'm just not sure that this is a series that's really for me. And then the other book I finished was Blood of Wonderland. And this is the second book in this trilogy, and it's a Alice in Wonderland kind of prequel / retelling, I guess. And we're following Dinah, who is the future Queen of Hearts, but is currently the Princess of Hearts, and I think it's kind of her backstory. Though I'm not sure, because I can't tell if it's like a straight like prequel, as in this author imagined what the Queen of Hearts backstory would be, or if it's a retelling where we're focusing on the Queen of Hearts before she became the Queen of Hearts, but doesn't necessarily end up being the Queen of Hearts that we know from Alice in Wonderland. I'm not sure, because some things have happened that have made me very confused as to whether it is a inspired by Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, where they just kind of turn everything on its head, or whether it is a true retelling prequel kind of thing. I don't know. I'm probably not making a lot of sense. But I think I'm going 3.75 stars on this one. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one, but I am definitely intrigued. It left in a very, very interesting spot. And I'm planning to read book 3 and finish this trilogy out next month. So hopefully I will have some more answers to whether it's a straight retelling or if it's got a bit of a twist or whatever. But I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. So at least I have that. And I did not get back to Ordinary Monsters. This was the only other book that I was trying to read this week. I didn't make any more progress in it. Basically, I just focused on my books for my Roll-The-Rainbow TBR, and I finished them all. This was a really fun readathon, and I'm so glad that I took part, and I had a lot of fun, and I hope Christy does it again, because it is tricky. Definitely tricky to try to fit books to the prompts with the colors. It proved to be much more challenging than I thought it was going to be, especially with all of the readathons I was taking part in, and trying to fit books that were already on my TBR to the prompts. So that was quite interesting. So yeah, maybe next time I won't be taking part in quite so many readathons, and I can kind of branch out and see what kind of creative books I can come up with that are on my physical TBR that maybe I wasn't thinking I was going to get to this month, but that'll give me kind of the kick in the butt I need to get to them. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me rainbow emojis, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!